your daily leftist detox counselor, your fearless host, Brock Lawley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lawley program. My name is Brock Lawley. I am your fearless host. Ladies and gentlemen, by no guilt, by no interest, by no offense of any of the sane in America, are we now talking about dudes in female bathrooms and vice versa? I just want to set the whole ship right before we set sail, right? Okay, I want to repeat that. No conservative wanted to have this conversation. No conservative wanted in any way, shape, or form to bring this to prominence in the American mind. Nowhere. None. Zero. Moreover, this did not emerge as an issue of concern for the American people. It did not emerge organically from its culture. It was not a fire begging for the fire department to put it out, so to speak. It was completely and totally fabricated by the social engineering left for reasons that do not concern people, but power, and we have established that in spades on this podcast. Now, this is your president. In a time when just this week, ISIS dissolved human beings with acid. Those human beings happen to be Christian. That's why you didn't hear about it. I'm going to repeat that. Human beings who walk this earth, skin, heartbeats, family, dissolved in acid by ISIS. This is what your president is speaking to you about.
Threats from President Obama about restroom choice for transgenders in public schools.
Follow Obama administration guidelines or lose federal funding. That, according to guidance the administration just issued.
The challenge here is not to isolate anybody. It's not to discriminate against anybody. It's not to make anybody unsafe. It's actually to ensure that our schools are as inclusive and respectful as they can possibly be.
The administration says a person born a female and now identifying as a male, for example, can use men's bathrooms and locker rooms, attend male-only classes, and live on the men's floor in a gender-segregated dormitory, gender-specific sports and activities like boys basketball or girls volleyball. In response, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick told reporters that guidance amounts to blackmail and says his state will refuse to comply. The White House dismissed him,
electing a right-wing radio host.
Shortly after, Patrick retorted,
The president wants to pull funds because families in Texas and all America don't want 14-year-old boys showering with 14-year-old girls and 8-year-old boys going to the bathroom with 8-year-old girls. Well, he'll actually be taking money from the poorest of the poor.
Texas's Attorney General is also threatening to sue the administration. Attorney General Ken Paxton writes in a statement, quote, if President Obama thinks he can bully Texas schools into allowing men to have open access to girls in bathrooms, he better prepare for yet another legal fight.
The challenge here is not to isolate anybody. It's not to discriminate against anybody. It's not to make anybody unsafe.
This is such a scary thing. So it's Saturday afternoon around the lunch hour, very busy shopping time. An 8-year-old girl goes into the restroom and a man follows her in, chokes her until she passes out. Mom heard something. She runs in there. She tries to fight the man. The man pushes her down. She saw him and taking her daughter into a stall, and the girl was unconscious. He is 33-year-old Reese Hairston. He's being held without bond right now, and he is charged with aggravated battery and assault. The girl was taken to a hospital. We're not told how she's doing these days. Live on the South Loop, Joni Lum.
My fellow Americans, it does not just stop. Hear me say this to you clearly. It does not just stop. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, we got bigger fish to fry. This is absurd. Why are we talking about this? Or maybe you're thinking, who cares, right? Who cares if Twig and Berries are showing themselves in female bathrooms? And you're just one of these people that are like, yeah, it's insane, but I'm not going to die on this hill, right? But I'll remind you, if I would have told you this 5 years ago, you would have full-throatedly said, that's insane. You might have even called the police because it was so insane. and so dangerous, I might add, as the latter end of that news clip clearly illustrates. Now, we're taking lectures from the social engineering left that society is so masculine that is raping like marauder Vikings. However, carte blanche into the female bathroom if you happen to lick your finger that day and think that you just read a Margaret Atwood book and you're gonna meander into the female bathroom. Ladies and gentlemen, it's madness. It's slippery slope madness. And people like me, in 2008, I'm on video as saying this is exactly. I almost want to like chill myself because it's so Notre Dame-esque. Like I literally said, case by case, what the steps would be. Now I know you probably have friends like that. You probably have an uncle or a family member who is saying, hey, it's insane. Now why should you fight? Right? Why? Seems like a losing battle. They have the media. They're going to call you names. It's possible, if you can even believe this, listen closely, that a person would lose their livelihood simply because they say, this is insane. Moreover, the fascist government that you have right now, the leftist totalitarians in power right now, are just withholding funds from states that are calling insanity. That's all happening. And of course, nobody's surprised by this. This is the IRS persecuting an administration. They do what they will. They're lawless. They're rugged. They could care less about constitutional restraints, let alone your individual lives and rights. It is non-consequential to them. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason you should fight is because you're forgetting one thing. These people that are doing this, it's not cause-driven, right? If it were cause-driven, you might say, hey, if we give this ground, the ravenous behavior will stop, but it will not. It will not, because it's never been about any of this stuff. Some of us have seen the stitches on this fastball long before it sailed across the plate. It's not about bathrooms. It's not about sexuality. It's about controlling people. It's about shutting down churches. It's about demanding that you think the way they want you to think, or else. What's the or else? Tax exemptions. What's the or else eventually? Jail. What's the or else? History tells us what the or else is. It's gulags. It's body bags, because leftism has no brake on the automobile. Hear me say this. They will never stop. They need to be stopped. I'm going to say that again. There is no natural loss of momentum here. You understand me? They're never going to say, the fight has been won. It will be continuous, because it's never about the thing. It's never about the thing. These people are godless. These people are driven by a sense of strange humanitarian perversion where they think they're going to bring about utopia. And they've so lost the plot. The road is so away. They have no map. They have no compass, but they still feel right. And that feeling will justify anything. It will justify the safety of this little girl who was choked. It will justify however many sexual assaults happen. They'll cover them up. They'll blame them on something else. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I have not convinced you that this is the line, I know in your mind you're like, oh, there's some line. This isn't it, Brock. But there's some line that these guys are going to cross. I contend your soul has no more fight in it. There is no line for you. You'll complete, continuous, getting on with it. That's what you're going to do. You're going to be addicted to ease. You're going to be addicted to safety. You're going to just want things to just stabilize, and you don't want to rock the boat. This is the line. In fact, the line was 500 feet back in the rear view. This is the time to resist them. They don't stop. They must be stopped, ladies and gentlemen. If for any of you who are still in some way questioning, you know this is wrong. You know it's unsafe. You know it destabilizes societies. You know we're going to be in a tailspin. But you're thinking, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's bathrooms. This is the big deal. This was just published and propagated, pushed and lauded by one of the highest trafficking liberal media sites on the internet.
And she was just standing there watching me. And I remember looking up and just seeing her and just going, wow, she's beautiful. I knew I was in deep. I had fallen for the girl. I took on a regular babysitting gig. She was 5. She was a precocious girl. She was advanced for her age. She was also very independent. A lot of my fantasies actually revolve around little girls who are in some way more powerful than I am. Eventually, my attraction became, overwhelming to the point I had to go relieve myself in the bathroom. Remembering the fact that I was abused, it's probably contributed to my own sexuality developing. I've gotten to know a lot of pedophiles online. My sense is that we're a much larger group than society actually thinks we are. The terms pedophile and child molester are used interchangeably. This is wrong. It's important to realize that not all pedophiles are child molesters and not all child molesters are pedophiles. When I first told all of my family, they had a hard time dealing with it. They had a hard time reconciling what they knew about me versus what they thought they knew about pedophiles. I went through a severe bout of depression and social anxiety that lasted a few years. This is not something I chose. What person in their right mind would choose to be the most reviled sexuality in the world? My purpose is basically to go out and educate people, allowing people like myself to express themselves, to come out and be open. Society makes it harder by persecuting us because a lot of us become fatalistic. We just start to think it doesn't matter what we do or say, they're going to hate us anyway. We need to find some kind of middle ground where society and pedophiles can come together. We love kids. We want to protect them too.
Ladies and gentlemen, they do not stop. I know you're revolted. I know exactly how you feel listening to that because you have a conscience. They will not stop. And that is why this is the hill to die on. Did you recognize any of those tactics, by the way? The onus was not on the perverted action, but the pervert's feelings about the action. He wouldn't choose to molest and destroy children's lives. He was born wanting to do it. Society needs to find a middle ground. They need to emerge from the shadows. Does the lexicon sound familiar? I ask you, my fellow American. They will not stop. They must be stopped.
À Brock Lawley Productions.